Hi, it's me, Kristen, and I have a couple of Thanksgiving dessert options that might be possibilities for you. So if you are interested in finding out what they are, you can probably guess by the pictures, then just stay tuned and let's get going. All right, so the first recipe I'm showing today, is pumpkin pecan squares. This is a sugar-free option for anybody that has any dietary restrictions or gluten, because there's no flour in this. So first of all, we're doing the crust. We have 1.5 cups almond flour, 1/4 cup of finely chopped pecans going in, some cinnamon, and some orange zest. This is supposed to help complement those pumpkin flavors, so I decided to try that. I'm adding a little bit of vanilla to the crust. You don't have to, but I decided I'd throw that in just because I felt like it. And then 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter, or you could use coconut oil if you don't want the butter. And then a little bit of salt. And then 2 tablespoons of monk fruit. I didn't show it, but it's in there. And then whisk it all together to combine. I switched to a spatula after the whisk just to mix it a little bit better together. So it's going into a 9x9 baking pan, and just kind of pat it as evenly as you can into the bottom of that pan so that it cooks evenly. And then it will go in the oven for about 9 to 10 minutes or until lightly golden. All right, and while the crust is baking, let's start on the filling. So we have 1 15-ounce can of pumpkin puree. I'm not using the pie filling, just the puree. So, and then coconut milk, 3/4 cup of full-fat coconut milk. You're going to want to combine the pumpkin and the coconut milk together first before adding anything else, because it takes a minute to incorporate those two together. So I have the orange zest in the crust, and I thought the orange juice would naturally go in the filling. So I'm adding that here, but don't feel like you have to put that in. I just wanted to try doing that. So now we're moving on to the spice. We're going to spice it up. I have homemade pumpkin pie spice that I use, and then I'm using monk fruit sweetener, and what else is that? Let's see, coconut flour, 3 tablespoons of coconut flour. I forgot what the other flour I used was. And then vanilla, just eyeball a teaspoon in there. I always put a little bit more, as you can tell. I like vanilla. And then so just taste it to see kind of where you're at. And I decided it just needed more spice, so I just reinforced what I had in the pie filling spice. So I'm putting in more clove, more ginger, and more cinnamon. I would have added a little more nutmeg, but I couldn't find it. I just couldn't find it, so I gave up. So then after you have it spiced to where you like it, then put it in the crust, on top of the crust rather, and then bake it for about 45 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean, and then it's done. Let it sit and cool completely before you cut into it to make sure that the crust doesn't fall apart. All right, recipe number 2, caramel apple cheesecake bars. This is a great recipe. I'm halving this recipe. So for the crust, you'll need 1 cup of butter, 1/4 cup of light brown sugar, and then 6 tablespoons of cold butter. As you can see, I'm using my cheese grater instead of cubing up the butter. It's way faster that way, and you're not handling the butter as much. So combining these, and then I'm going to press it into a parchment lined 8x8 dish, just like you see there. Goes in the oven for about 15 minutes at 350. And then I'm moving on to the cheesecake filling. So halving this would be 1 package of cream cheese softened, a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, or a full teaspoon if you want. That's what I did. 1 large egg, and then whisk and combine all these together, set aside, and then I'm going to prepare the apples. So full recipe is 3 Granny Smith apples, but I'm halving it, so I'm just going to use like 1 1/2. That's about all you need. We're not going to cook these on the stovetop before it goes into the baking dish. So you're going to want to chop them up really small, those apples, so that they soften up in the oven enough. Because, that's all the cooking they're going to get is in the oven. So we'll just do that and put these in a bowl. And then we're going to balance the flavor of these tart apples. So 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar. I did some apple pie spice, or you could just do cinnamon and nutmeg, pretty much the same thing. And then mix this together to make sure that all the apples get coated in the spice. And now we're ready to assemble the dessert. So on top of the cooked crust, we're going to add the cheesecake filling. And then on top of the filling, I'm going to sprinkle evenly the apples. Just like this. It looks good already. Doesn't that look nice? Nice and festive for the fall. Can't believe it's Thanksgiving already. This is crazy. So these would be really great desserts to serve on Thanksgiving if you wanted. So on top of the apples is going to go a streusel topping. So that is just all-purpose flour, light brown sugar, some quick cooking oats, and then cold butter. And then this is going to bake for quite a little bit because we need to cook up those apples. So it'll bake for 25 to 30 minutes and it'll be good to go. All right, so streusel topping is just about done. And then I'll sprinkle it evenly over the top of the apples, and then we'll be completely ready to go into the oven for about 30 minutes until, everything's all melted, the butter's melted. You can tell if it's not because you will see like dry spots of flour if the butter hasn't melted all the way, but it looks good to me. So this is a couple hours later and we're cutting it up. And look at that cheesecake. Oh, those look so good. I love cheesecake. I love butter. Apples. I love it all. What can I say? So to top it all off with some sugar-free whipped cream, caramel drizzle goes on the apple cheesecake. Look at that gorgeous thing right there. And then a little cinnamon and whipped cream goes on the pumpkin. And that's it. They both were great. They were really good. Great recipes for the holidays. So if you like this content, please subscribe and I will see you guys in the next one.